So wonderful. We are live on Pan African Daily TV. I hope the family is joining this conversation. So, as you can see, the handsome Mr. Akinbi Femi is going to be our lecturer, our conversationist for today. I hope all of you are watching us right now or you want the jingle. So, yes, let's go, people. Let's go. We are live.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home.
Okay. I think we're live and we're good to go. I told you that some couple of months ago, it's very impossible for us to play our opening jingle for whatever reason, for whatever purpose. But I think you can watch us, you can see us live. And so if you're connecting, please make sure you invite one another to join this powerful, moving conversation. I'm here in studio with our brother, our scholar, our academia, a busman that is in charge of all the knowledge systems that we know. And our topic for today is going to be redefining Pan-Africanism in the context of education. Like we say, education is the key to revolutionize the African mindset and even to promote our economic and development of the African. So yes, as you have said, or you have heard, or you've read, Pan African Daily TV is launching its academy for young people, the Africa we want. The idea is begin to create knowledge-based information on topics like leadership, communication, and team building. Why do we want to focus on these three aspects? Because if you can communicate your objectives, your purpose, your economy, your mission. So you are a leader, you can lead. And if you are a leader, so you can create a community, you can build your country, you can build your race, you can build your businesses, and that is team building. So I'm so far very interested and very what do I say? I'm really curious because up to now we have about 100 youths that have subscribed and that have registered to the trainings that we're going to be hosting next Saturday. But today we want to get a perspective from a leader, from an elder, from a scholar who actually is the biggest Pan-Africanist that is saying education is the key. Without education, we cannot move Africa forward. And Femi is here like somebody that is really passionate about how are we going to revolutionize the African mindset? How are we going to change the curriculums in our educational system? Are we going to maintain this kind of formal knowledge-based educations that we've had that have never been productive in a Pan-African mindset or in an Afrocentric mindset? Or we are going to create something exceptionally new where Africans can express themselves according to what they know. And this kind of education is going to revolutionize the mindset of the African in the future and to create the Africa that we want. So, this conversation is very important for us to begin to rethink Pan-Africanism in the essence of knowledge and our cultural education. So, like Femi is the one who came out with that and say there is no culture without agriculture. But then, how are we going to change that culture of revolution without education? So, how can Africa redefine Africanism, Pan Africanism, Black consciousness, conscious education? What kind of format are we going to use to reach out to the less privileged in our communities, to the unfortunate, to the underprivileged, to the marginalized girls and boys and women and elders who are in this kind of a setup where if you don't follow the knowledge-based education system, so you cannot sit and learn something and then become a scholar or a PhD or a doctorate in this. And so people or children or women and girls and boys or youth who don't have access to this kind of education feel marginalized. But is that truly what education should be about? Isn't education something that you know that can change your environment, that can create a job, that can put food on your table, that can lead a community and whatnot, that can lead a race of your people? What you know and what you can produce to bring a change is what we call Afrocentric education and knowledge based systems by Africans for Africans and also for humanity. So please, I want to welcome Femi right here in the studio with me, and we are going to be having four critical questions to look at it. What kind of education? What is the system of education that we've been having today? Progressive for Africans? What kind of education were we taught, and why is it not working for Africa? And why should we create another knowledge-based education? So I want to thank all of you that are connecting. I see Tulane watching from South Africa. Most of you that are watching from the continent, in the diaspora, in Europe, and everywhere, please, in the Caribbeans, in the Americas, make sure you are connecting on this live stream because it is very important that we begin to redefine the cultural education that we're talking about. Because we see all the promoters of education and the systems, oh, African needs education. African, the problem is that the girls and the boys or the villagers, they cannot read and write. No, but they function. They build great civilizations. They build the Nile civilization. So how possible could it be that they could not read and write and civilization started at the Nile River in Egypt, in Africa? Those are the questions that we have to be able to understand the Black excellence that we're talking about in the month of February and all through. So I'll get back to the studio just to greet our guests and to start off the conversation. Brother Femi, are you listening? Are you hearing me?
I can hear you live and clear.
Thank you so
And good
very much.
evening to the listeners.
Yes. Thank you so very much. I mean, you were with me at the Black Excellence in New York, and we saw all those presentations, movies, and panelists, everything that actually in that space we call knowledge-based educational system from Africans by Africans. I mean, and that Black Excellence event took place or stretched out to even 11 hours, and nobody wanted to leave. So my question is, even if they had hosted this event for a year, for 1 year or 1 month, that people would be going through and sitting, listening to these lectures for 1 year, for 10 hours a day, do you think it would have made a difference in the attendance and participation?
Again, thank you for having me with you. And again, good evening to all the listening audience. My name is Femi Akimbi. The answer to your question is that anywhere, anytime that we get together to re educate ourselves, there's no other better place to be. The whole of the Africans, our mind has been stolen. We've been flipped. We've been canned. And we've been miseducated on purpose. Now, the question becomes, what do we do and what is education to us? The word education actually comes from, I think it's a Greek word that means edude, which means to use what you have to enhance your immediate environment and then to extend it outward. And I don't think as an African at this point, that's not what we're doing. But if we visit how we end up where we are, we have to realize that the European have a belief system. Give me their mind, their behavior, I can predict. So upon arrival during slavery and during colonialism, they insist and make sure that when our language was taken away, which is the key communication factor in everything you do, in education, in business, in culture, communication, and your language is key. That was taken away from us. Secondly, our culture was taken from us, and then it was replaced by a Catholic faith. And from that point on, the educational system we're getting was deliberately to whitewash us, to make us subservient, and to make us dormant. Of course, that's what the conquering European will want. The question then for us now is what kind of education system should we set up? Take, for example, in Africa, none of our books were translated into English, but Bible was translated, no other subject. That means that our language and culture was taken to be replaced by something else. And now we are asking to develop Africa with a foreign education system. That's not going to work for us. The kind of education system we need have to be African centered. So also where we're still at, it is important that ideologically we are different from the European in our thought process about things. The Europeans tends to use explosive technology. We Africans are used to using implosive technology. To those who knows the implication and the difference in that, you understand that it's a different mindset. Having said that, also the education system we're using globally actually originally came from us. We gave mankind the first 2, 3 universities on earth. In some of our university in Egypt, you have to study 40 something years before you can graduate. We know that mathematics came from us, numbers came from us. So now that other people have got hold of that technology and knowledge and run with it to use it to keep us where we are, the question now becomes what kind of education system do we need to assemble for the Africans? One, we need to return our language base. We need to have one language of one kind. Our boundaries need to be addressed. Our monetary system needs to be addressed. We need a one currency system in the continent, and so on and so forth. World voting system. We have the interconnectivity of the agreement of the African Union. So we have things we could start to work with. The question now, could we assemble these things without outside interference, and will it be African centered? Let me give you an example. Most of the medical doctors who are listening now may not know anything about sound technology. And it's one of the greatest technology lost to mankind. Sound technology is where Africans used to use just the sound in a building to treat clogged arteries, heart diseases, and so on and so forth. And people think that sound is just music, but it was one of our greatest medical devices. So also the guitar was also a medical device at the earliest time. It was a 2-string guitar to put the disalignment out of the system to electromagnetic systems. But having said that, where we are today is we're miseducated and we're using foreign education to want to use it to develop domestic need. We have to return to an African-centered education that address our basic needs without destroying our environment and allow us to get along with other people without going to war. That's a wholesome sharing system that we need to put in place as far as the education system is concerned.
Thank you very much. I don't know, the screen is just for no reason, just dark.
Mine screen or yours?
No, both.
Uh-oh.
And but never mind. I tell my audience, so the family knows all our challenges on Pan African Daily and YouTube and stuff. What is very important for us is the message. The message is very important, and I hear Brother Brown Heron say, yes, the screen might be dark, but we get the message very well. So that's fine. Yes, Pan-Africanism is a spirit, and at the same time is education. Pan-Africanism as education tool means, because of the partition of the petty countries that we've become and these boundaries in our head. So you are a Yoruba descendant, born, and now you don't know the opportunities that are available in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Cape Verde, in Malawi. And the people in South, in Malawi, actually are on the same continent with us, but they don't know the opportunities that are available in Cameroon, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Ethiopia. Is that so? That kind of education of not knowing the opportunities because of the partition in our brains of a 54, 55 countries, um, uh, after the colonization, or after the Berlin Conference in 1884. That is also one of the key points of our education system, isn't it?
Yes, the effort and the attempt were deliberate. The attempt was to cut the Africa's continent into pieces, and to maintain us that way, they subdivided us into colonies and make sure that this is the language of the colonizers that we're using as our primary language. Take, for example, I went to a boarding school in Nigeria where you are not allowed to even speak your own language. It's deemed a vernacular, it's deemed something inferior, your own mother tongue. And there's no other language who is even richer than Yoruba, as far as I'm concerned. And even some studies have actually suggested that the base of the English language is actually the Yoruba language. Other people may want to take a look at this. But let's get off that. Regardless of where it came from, your language is your base of your culture, it's your communication skill, it's how you see the outside through your internal. Language is extremely important. Um, and also, if you cannot communicate with your next door neighbor because they speak French and the next one speak Portugal, that's a blockage to doing business. That means other people could come into us, do business with us having the business advantage of communication. All
I
of that
see.
is what we must also change. The formal educational system was done deliberately to do us in, to make us just a participant, an agent of the system without questioning. Because all the education system we're getting is just enough for you to get involved in the current structure of the global economical system. But fortunately for us now, though, we have a disruptor technology in front of all of us, which is the blockchain platform. To those who do not understand what blockchain is, please don't wipe it off as if it does not matter, it's going to come away and go. But look at it as how you use the internet. You could put whatever you put on the internet now, but the internet remains. Think like that about the blockchain platform for documentation and ledger of everything. And there we will see that this is the best God sent technology for the Africans. Why? Our global economical system as an African is like a spaghetti bowl. We need to streamline it. This allows us to customize it. It allows us to categorize it. It allows us to use the data to know who is in what professional, what age group are they, what skill set do they have, where could they be used for, and so on and so forth. Um, that's on the small scale. On the other scale is that you could use it for currently driver's license, identity, passport, custom clearance of your goods, immigration from different countries, um, toll booths, logistic for agriculture for women, and the list goes on and on what we could use this technology for. At the highest end of it, it will be a technology that we should be able to use to quantify our raw materials, define them, quantify them, and price them, and attach them to some form of our own digital currency. If Africa could get to that end, we would then be able to start to move away from the stronghold of the Eurasians upon us when we are looking for capital investment to do major projects in infrastructure and the like in the continent. Um, this is area I think all Africans should look into, and most importantly for the youth. If you are looking for income and you are looking for a means of money and you don't have any, all you need is your cell phone. Go on there, start a blockchain platform and start to read on it and see what you do. What are the application? Take for example, if you go to the doctors very soon, from the point you come to the emergency, they scan your. Once they scan you, all your information will be in the system, and the algorithm will control who will see your medical record, from the doctor to the nurse to the specialist and so on and so forth. So this is a technology that could give us a good guide to maneuver the continent. And also, this is a technology that is extremely disruptive for the ruling class because this allows small people to gather together, young people to gather together, to formate a stronghold and use that formation to do whatever they want. Take, for example, they can go into cryptocurrency environment. They can start their own youth African currency and call it whatever they want. As long as they accept it within themselves, it become a currency. And then there is the what is now called digital ownership or slice ownership, or there's all other words for it. Basically, it's a fraction ownership of anything. In other words, something costs $100,000. You only have $50 to invest. You can invest the $50 and you get your return equivalent to that decimal of what you input into the project. And if there's a loss in the project, you only get that same percentage of decimal lost. So there are quite a lot of areas that this could work for us in education system, accounting system, ghost employment in Africa, and the list goes on and on and on what we could use this technology for. But I'm suggesting for the children of the continent to start to look at this seriously as a means of them making income. You do not have to go to a university. All you need is YouTube channel and possibly Google. You could learn anything you want to learn about anything, read about it. And then there are forums where you can ask questions and so on and so forth. I think this is a good area where the youth in the African continent can get into because the barrier to entrance is not high. You don't have to have a big laptop. You don't need a major structure for computing, a mainframe. None of that. All you need is your cell phone, and you could search what are the usage of blockchain and what part could you partake in. It could be just a truck coming from the north to the south of the continent. When they're empty, how do you know they're empty? How many percentage empty are they? Where are they currently? And how long will they get to where you are? And what's the size of the space in their truck? And how much is the size of the luggage or the load you want to move from one location to the other? And this is what this efficiency in this system allow us to do. And the list goes on and on. I'll stop there for a second. Maybe you have a question.
Of course, you know, I always have a question. Is blockchain technology a Western invention or an African concept? To be honest with you,
it's a universal, just like you say, the internet. It's the internet.
No.
No, I'll go back there. I just that's an example. It is a European invention, if you want to call it an invention. It was an attempt to do a ledger. It was not. It had nothing to do with race. And I'm saying when we are starting to talk about this kind of subject matter in the future, I think most of us have to now take the African principle, not the African color, because there are some African, black as I am, who are doing terrible things to us, and there are some people as white as snow in the European, among the Europeans who are helping us. We just have to identify who is with us and who is against us.
I'm sorry, it's not about race theory here. I just asked a very simple question.
The guy who founded it, I think his name was Bob. He's a European guy.
Okay, but if you look at this, if you look at the system of operation of the blockchain technology that we all are so like, if you look at the way we traded and do business in the ancient African culture, what is that system called? Everything that we're struggling now to do, how did we operate? For instance, you're talking about the ledger, the wallet, the logistics, everything involved in it, the accessibility to wealth. Without the miseducation of the European system, we did this technology thousands of years ago. Tell me how we traded without blockchain.
We did barter. We came with currency.
Yes.
And then eventually eventually some European came with land ownership. This is where the trouble kind of start, or the good still start, depending on which
Oh.
side of the coin you're on.
How do you explain Pan-Africanism in terms of blockchain technology?
Okay.
If you want to focus on economy.
I would say that,
Excuse me, sorry for interruption. We are on the topic of cultural education and redefining Pan-Africanism. Now, you take a case study like blockchain technology. How am I going to explain to the underprivileged that have no access to education to even know who they are, what blockchain technology is, and to them?
before I answer that, let me just blow this warning that we, the Africans, are the forebearers of the first industrial revolution. We've been taken over since the second industrial revolution, the third industrial revolution. Now we are the fourth industrial revolution. My warning is, if we are left behind here, we're set to be a permanent global underclass if care is not taken. So my suggestion before I answer your questions is as follows. There needs to be an African organization that will look into the digital space of the African continent and its needs. Take, for example, the Wi-Fi we're using. Everybody's running after all technology, internet, blockchain, but you must have access to fairly priced Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi that is actually neither donated to students or the poor or underprivileged. Otherwise,
Correct.
the access to buy Wi-Fi becomes an education barrier in the fourth industrial revolution. There needs to be a group to address this. How does Africa have our own satellite? And how do we now distribute to those who are in need in the continent how to get access to Wi-Fi? Secondly, as we all are using the bandwagon of the digital space, we're spending a lot of money on buying Wi-Fi, or what people call recharge, which is basically buy space to use on the bandwidth of the communication industry. Having said that, if we are not in good position to control the content, take, for example, all these good musicians and artwork in the creative industry coming out of Nigeria and the rest of the African continent, South Africa, Ethiopia, we are using more bandwidth of this Wi-Fi because of the content we created, making the communication company make more money, but they are not paying for the content of what we're using on that. We need to also make sure a group look into that aspect. And also we need to study how our youth are engaging in the digital space, because a lot of people are taking advantage of them in the area of programming and all other stuff that they do, in the sense that there's no goalpost to guide them. And what is worth $1 billion, they could sell for $1,000, and somebody give them a car, and they're satisfied because they're kids. There have to be an oversight group, a tech organization that will look into all this kind of interest, the one that I've mentioned, and the one I could not even come up with that other people may have to come up with, so that then we'll have a fair, equitable digital space to compete with the rest of the world. Because in the next phase of what we are going to, everything we're going to be using is going to be controlled by this Wi-Fi. If you have artificial intelligence to turn your refrigerator on, to drive your car without a driver, to turn on your microwave when you are not home, this have to use undisrupted Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi system is disrupted, the wireless helicopter could crash, the wireless or driverless truck could run into the bridge or run to somebody else. So there's a need for a strong wireless base in each of all of these African continent. And right now, nobody, or I'm not hearing enough of any group assembling to do this part to guide the African into the digital space of the 21st century. As per your question, what in African countries was your question? Could they do or could we do to benefit from blockchain? Was that the question, or did I move too far away from it?
The question was, how can you simply explain blockchain technology in the context of Pan-Africanism and our unity?
Okay. Now, when the blockchain first came out, the first thing that came out was like, gee, this is a chance for the African to collaborate digitally without anybody busting us open. Before, an attempt for us to assemble ourselves was a big deal. This is why Black Africans in this hemisphere use the churches, because that was the only place they can go to assemble without back then having to have some backlash. But with the blockchain platform, it allows us to assemble us virtually, regardless of where we are. It keeps detailed record of who we are, and those records are not changeable. It keeps detailed. It creates what is called a, I won't use the term here, but it creates a special note to say 1 + 1 = 2, and you can't change it again to make it 4. Blockchain help us to do that. Then you have an algorithm that help to take away if somebody's trying to cheat or duplicate. For the African continent, one, what could we use blockchain for? One, at the lower level, the market women could use it. One, to say what they are selling, advertise where they are selling virtually, sell it virtually, get paid for it virtually, have somebody pick it up, and then try a blockchain logistics system to pick it up and deliver it to the warehouse. That's on the lower level of usage. Let's say somebody have a production of a clothing industry. They want to make this boo I got on. Somebody got to do the cutting. Somebody do the trading. A blockchain platform may allow a person to do the embroidery somewhere in A, and somebody do the sewing in B, and the other person package it in C. The technology and the logistics will tell exactly how it gets there, how long it's there, and where is it supposed to go. You're able to track everything in on time fashion. That's how some of the benefit. On the governmental level or we could even go everywhere. We could go into the banking system, which is well now people call that fintech. The fintech is the biggest one. It's going to be followed by the health, but education will come right after that, and then we'll go into the global systems of port and all of that. It's already here, and I think the quicker we get our people in the continent to get prepared and ready to use this technology, the better. So also, if they are able to develop any platform, it could be developed in Africa. It could operate anywhere in the world, and they make their money in their underwear where they sleep at home. That's another advantage of the easy entrance into the blockchain. The entrance is easy. You don't need a major $1 billion. You don't need a godfather. You don't need a banker. You could do everything you're doing with your phone, and you can learn everything from there. The usage is endless, and I'm suggesting all the youth in the continent start to look at it. Around the governmental structure, it could be used for procurement. Right now, we are about to buy 10 toilet paper. Somebody bribes somebody. They get 1 toilet paper, and they say we already get the 10 toilet paper. If you use a blockchain platform, it will count before you bring it in. It will count how much is left, what time it got there. So if you're supposed to supply 10, you only supply 1. The algorithm will flag, and it will not let anything else go through that. There's an error somewhere to fix. Those are the things that I think will be used to fix corruption. We could use it down the line to get all the African raw materials and put it as against our own cryptocurrency based on raw materials, gold and diamond, platinum, uranium, that are all the other great stuff we have. And once we're able to that, we will not have to now go to other foreign countries to borrow money from them. This is where they get us and take everything that belongs to us by force. These are some of the benefits of the blockchain. It also could be used for election. Um, it could be used for traffic and so on and so forth.
All right. I mean, it sounds like, the same thing. Somebody brings a policy and just pull Africans into it, just come and then get engaged, do it without people being involved, without people knowing what it is. I mean, like, I just feel like, hold a minute, just like, what is blockchain? If you want, go explain me blockchain to your.
It's, a blockchain is basically a recorded ledger that cannot be duplicated. That's basically what it is. It just have technology that help it to do what it do best. In other words, if you start a blockchain, take for example, there's a group now I'm representing called First Credit, and they attempt, well, blockchain take away the third party verification in everything and allow you to trust the next person without the third party verification. Take, for example, the credit bureau system we're using in the US. There are three major credit bureaus. And anytime you're going to borrow money, or you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, this is the three agencies that the bank or the financial institution or anybody who want to lend you money goes to know what is your score. But these scores are controlled by people. You pay a bank $1, you report it that you pay, it shows on your credit, they say you're credit worthy. But with the blockchain platform, it will be a one-time global system that you can never interrupt. In other words, on a blockchain platform, the day you start the record, the day you end it, you can't wipe it. It's permanent record for life. And if you say today you are starting a blockchain trading business of some kind, and you have, say, $10 in your account, and you are now going to trade on the blockchain platform with other people, and you're trying to cheat them by buying something that costs $20 with your $10, the blockchain platform and the algorithm will waive and say you only have traded $10 on this platform. All you have is $10 and you could not spend more than $10. Then that means the deal will not go through. When you have $20 in that account now, though, and you're trying to make that transaction, then the algorithm let you go through. And if you do that this time, you are found to be fraudulent. It becomes a permanent record. You can never wipe it. So 20 years down the line, somebody could find out you're trying to cheat, and that becomes part of you. Now, this is what they call First Credit Global. They're going to do this all over the earth, so that from your birth till the day you die, everybody have a credit system globally. I just use that as an example. The end use of the blockchain platform is endless. I think we're just at the elementary entrance of it. And I'm suggesting the youth of the African continent dip themselves in it. No, it is not that something somebody put together and say, Africans come get it. No. It was a disruptive mechanism put into non-verification system deliberately at the beginning. They were not aware that it was going to go this far, but the effort was through the early state of the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin for the most part. It took off, and now it's settling down a little bit. Out of there came some of the rush. Blockchain has been around for about 8 or 9 years now, to those of us who followed it. But it's now that it's time that it's taking off, and it's going to be used, and it's going to be used across the board for AI, artificial intelligence. It's going to be used for all of your street-related technology you use, all your communication, your transport system are going to be all using a blockchain algorithm system in it, all of them.
All right. Thank you so much. For those actually that would be interested in this topic, it sounds more of an economic topic than a cultural one. Of course, it's a way of the new technologies that are coming.
Technology is also culture,
Exactly, sure. That's what I'm saying. That is pulling the young people in this kind of revolution. So we are launching our youth executive trainings for youth in all sectors of education, but we actually want to focus on communication, leadership, and team building, because these are the three aspects that takes every. But we want to get into the kind of cultural education where the African actually understands and have access to global development and
Let me
trend
give you
like this.
just on the side of what you say. Take, for example, the education system you are using now. You could simply use a blockchain platform to arrange it. And all your students or all the people in that group become one group. And inside that group, they can have a subgroup. Inside that subgroup, they can have a subgroup. In other words, they're able to have a scale of different knowledge. And this can now be shared among them. And then this group then could decide to trade together or decide to play together. Whatever they decide to do, it becomes a unit that they created by themselves and they're able to control it. The thing about blockchain, nobody control it. You control it, or it doesn't have no controller. It controls himself. That's what is called a disruptor. It's a disruptive technology.
Fine, that's just a part of it. That's just a part of it, a subject matter that comes to do with how fast the African youth can catch up with the development and the trends and the technology
Let
that
me
the
so let
world.
me quickly say this quickly there. Please bear with me. I'll let you go on. The take for example, in Nigeria, which where I'm from, it was about what 200. Do we have 200 phone 200 120? Like we have like 10,000 phone lines for 200 million people. Landline back then. With the advent of cell phone, we leapfrog from that blockage of communication to a swift communication. Say, for example, you're living from a 10 miles radius to go see somebody. You can't call them on the phone. So you get onto the traffic route and you jam the traffic up trying to get to them and you can't meet them. Now, this leapfrog you to use that. Now, what I'm saying to us is the blockchain platform allow us to organize quickly without effort. It's just a technology to organize and structure ourselves, whatever way you want to look at it. The louder thing I want to say about this, I will figure a way to publish this somewhere. The biggest main interest of someone like me in the blockchain platform is that these people are using disruptive technology to bring about holistic human change. And they're using through what I call a naturalistic negotiating system, a holistic negotiating system. That means that the strife of legal system is taken away from this young group of people who are in this technology. I think it's worth looking at. And I actually, in my sincere opinion, that with this young group of people, black, white, or yellow, or Potodoc, out of Mogola, the future that they're building is better than the future we're living. They're building a collaborative, non-color, non-gender environment. This is what this environment entails. And it's very, 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 very fascinating for someone like me to see it in action. And I'm suggesting if you're African, please join the force before it's too late. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to be teaching on a model, and I know you will not even allow me to finish my sentence, because that's exactly a system that you were from the beginning to develop it, and so it's really in your blood, and you look at it as a way of revolutionizing the African youth to be in the trends for the future. That's very perfect, and that's okay. On that note, it's very okay to understand that that would be an economic system that the young people have to get to understand. How does it work? How does it function? This all these sources about AI and all that. But to be honest with you, this is not a conversation that we're holding here. This is just a technology that we are looking that the young people should be updated and upgraded into the cultural educational space of the world, to also be competitive using these gadgets, having a cell phone, but don't know how to actually trade on it, or to know, instead of just making selfies and posting, you could be actually rich when you get into this technology. That's the one point of it. Now, the second point of it that we're talking about, the cultural education system of 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 the African, revolutionizing our education system, goes back to create a difference in our curriculum, in the way we study, in the format which we study, like, get the education from another point of view, and to be able now to go to the job market to start looking for that job. What should be different about that?
Okay, before I answer that one, let me give you a quick angle before I forget it. Currently, let's say a group of young people from Africa, in Ghana, in Togo, are trying to do something. They now have a language barrier. One of the example of blockchain I could give you is a young person have done all the languages in Africa through the blockchain platform. So now, when you speak in your mother dialect, you have a choice to say what language you want to hear it in. And the algorithm in that blockchain technology will replay your language as you want it in all the African language. Somebody have done that. Um, that is already available. Your question was quickly, please, before I forget. You wanted to know. Hello, could you hear me?
The difference between the curriculum educational system.
And the one we are using. Okay. The education system we're using has to be completely overhauled. One, we cannot have an education system where you cannot use your own language. That must go. That's one. Two, your education should study your culture because your culture is your economics. Take, for example, in Nigeria, you can't study, we don't teach any of our spiritual principles anywhere, good or bad, but we allow Christianity. We allow the Muslim faith, but we don't teach the local. But when people have trouble, they run from the Muslim faith, the Catholic faith, and they run to the traditionalists. Why are we not teaching it? I hear the word witchcraft, witchcraft. I kept saying, forget the witch, give me the craft. We need to start to study these things. Um, in Africa, where the base of all the medicine we're using all over the world is from, we don't have a good record of it. If you go to Harvard, the tallest building is called Harvardite, and all our medicine from the beginning of time they could study has been stored there, and this is what they duplicated to make medicine. I'm saying this to us that with this technology, now we can assemble our own technology. We do not need that infrastructure like the other people have to do it at the beginning of time or in recent time to assemble with this space. Once we have a database, we could use that database for almost anything we want to use it for. And the difference between the old system and the new system is our system must include three systems in it. It must include communism, capitalism, and socialism. The system we inherited is just capitalistic system, and it have its own red blood to go with it. I don't want to go into that today, but and then our education system must study what we have. We cannot be studying aerospace when we have cocoa. We cannot be studying. Um, Take for example the French. I mean the Chinese people, Asian. They don't come to the U.S. to study anything that is not scientific. They're in neuro. They're into all the sciences. They will not take any non-science classes. I think Africa should focus on that because we are highly cultured people, but we need modern day science to help us to add to our old culture to forge forward a new African beginning. And I think that's what we should do. We should make sure that everything we do is appeal to our culture, is from our culture. Everything we're using is foreign to us. Take, for example, in the Muslim faith, you cannot give loan with interest. It's against their law. But in the capital system, it's high interest rate. The Africans go to the at the highest level go to the World Bank and the IMF to borrow money for projects. The international heavy players like the US and the rest of them, they get their loan at 1%, 2%. When Africa are getting 8 to 10%, we need it the most, and those who needed it the most are not getting the break. If we could formate our own digital currency, which why Gaddafi was killed, this is why Saddam Hussein was killed, is to and a lot of other people have been killed in the past whole century in an effort to control their own monetary system. This is a must for the Africans. If we are going to survive, we must come up with our own monetary system that allow us to borrow from us for any project we're going to do in Africa. That have to be the base of our base of education should be a base of what is underneath us to convert to usable resource for us, but based on an African financial scheme, not a foreign scheme that is coming to strangulate us.
Thank you very much, FME. I mean, you've touched some other points out of the discussion, but that are so relevant also, just for conversational matters until we get into the depth of it. But one thing that you touch, and I think that's what our focus on the Pan-African Daily TV Academy is going to focus on, is environmental education. The only thing Africans can learn, we can go on the internet and learn about blockchain or whatever, but without knowing our environment, like you say, we cannot go and study aerospace when we don't know what cocoa is. We cannot be studying every other thing apart from the resources that we have. Why is it always essential for us to be putting all these big words, or we have to study without even knowing the resource and the opportunities that I have now to be able to use and put this technology behind?
The African continent does not have no leaders. We have rulers. We don't have no leaders. If we have leaders, they will be leading us to the green pasture. They will be looking for how the African youth will get well educated. They will be looking for the standard of living of the women to increase. They will be looking for the standard living of their citizens to increase. But that's not what the rulers in the continent are doing. They're taking our resource and shipping it outside to foreigners and give access to foreigners at the expense of the whole continent. We must have to stop them. We need to stop them. We have to stop them. And we must stop them from giving the land of the continent to Asians and other people, that we can do the same in their own country, in their own continent.
For me, that's an educational aspect. That's cultural education. If we want to teach our youth who will become leaders of tomorrow, is how to not trade their resources for free, or give it for free, or for corruption or something. That's for me the aspect of, if I want to teach on the cultural education of how do we do business with all the foreigners.
You have to understand that deliberately, all of the Africans, that include me, were not taught what of any of our raw materials or resources before we left the continent. And when you get to this Western Hemisphere, you are not taught how to own it. You are only taught how to do the process. So the business of the business of the business is never yours. Only one African countries on earth is doing, not African country, black colored countries, Trinidad and Tobago. They are the only group of Africans that use their own citizen to do from A to Z of all their oil industry. And that, I think we should copy them. We have some contact with them in the past. And I think we should be continuing with some of this effort. Because when you don't study what is underneath you, then the education you're studying cannot format what you need. If you have, take for example, a friend of mine in Trinidad went to the prime minister and said, look, something is not right here. He said, what is the biggest business in Trinidad? They say it's oil. He said, what's the second business? They say it's banking. He said, that means it's the oil then. They say, yes. He said, then why are we not teaching our children the business of oil in Trinidad?
Correct.
And he started the curriculum and started to teach it to their citizens in Trinidad. So now they learn the business aspect, they learn the technological aspect, and they learn the marketing and the global politics that go with it. That's what we were not able to do in Africa that we need to do. The raw materials we have to be quantified, they have to be analyzed for what it's used for, and more importantly, we have something called rare earth. Rare earth. Plentiful in the continent because of the need for them. Most of the African continent does not know what these rare earth are, what they are used for. And when these other foreigners find out that we have this raw material, they don't come for it. They start a proxy war close to it so they can mine that without paying for it. We need to be aware of what are the resources sitting underneath us, what are the quantity of it, what will it be used for. And in some of our cultural mining process, there are certain groups that are using certain things to mine gold that could pollute the land for the next 33, 35 years. We have to be educated about all of that environmental stuff. Take, for example, I'm from Ondo. It's a very thick rainforest. My lineage has been cutting these trees for the past all my human existence. Some of these trees are 600 years old, 200 years old, and once we cut them, we don't replace them. And this is called environmental erosional problems. And we're actually not using the wood from there. We're shipping them to China and other places. So that means we don't get the benefit from using them for furniture, the byproduct for paper, and the list goes on, and what we're not doing. We have to educate ourselves about what we have, how to convert it to what we need, the size and the quantity before we approach outsiders.
Thank you very much. Cheryl just wrote, business is not the problem, greed is. First things first, to teach our youth about loyalty to Mother Africa. I think that's relevant, isn't it?
Yes,
Africans
one have to
don't
know self
know
first, though.
Africa. To be honest with you, our youth or even ourselves, we don't know Africa. The Africa that they teach us, the Africa that we know, be it in the diaspora or out, we don't know it. Isn't it time that we start to learn about what that Africa is, what it means to us, what it means to being loyal to Africa? Must it
You
be
have
only
to start with
loyalty?
education in history. We're not teaching our youth the history of Africa. We are teaching European history in Africa, but we're not teaching African history in Africa. And we expect our children, when they graduate, to have the consciousness and the historical background, the global positional system, to know where they belong in this big thing called Earth. And we're failing. We're failing. If we're going to talk about culture, then we need to talk about religion. And that's a big subject in the continent because Africans are probably the most religious people, but it does not work for us. We pray to this God for 60 years now. We still pray. I think at some point we need to say, we're praying to God for a chair. And we've been praying for 60 years, and God is telling us, I don't make chairs, I only make trees. Africa have to learn how to convert our trees into chairs. That's during the prayer period. But we cannot just pray for the tree to turn to a chair. We have to make a move.
Thank you very much. I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the beginning of the future. And I just want to thank all of you that joined this conversation. We're going to keep it really short because we're preparing for Saturday. And for those of you who have already received our flyers, I'm really, really excited to share this wonderful news with you. Youth are hungry for the leadership of the continent. Youth are hungry for knowledge. Youth want to know. Our youth are so anxious. We only dropped out the trainings for Saturday, which is just an introduction phase of what we're going to be doing in the next 20, 30 years to revolutionize our African teaching, our African education. What is it that we should know? There are already more than 50, 60 youths that are just applying. Most of them are even asking if it is payable. How much are they supposed to pay to get this kind of knowledge? So don't you think it is time, really the time now for us to really set apart every other thing, whether it's technology or what, and just teach our youth what it is to be African and to know what they own and who they are? Did you hear me?
No, I can hear you now.
Yes, I was asking at this time in the 21st or 23rd century that we are in now, isn't it time for us elders to just back up from every other jargons that we've been talking about and focus on giving our youth the legacy of knowing who they are, what their continent has, their potentials, their resources, and how they can manage relationships in dealing with others? Isn't it time for us to
That time has
reproduce?
actually passed. The time has already passed. We should have been doing
Why?
that 2 days before. The time for us to regroup. I think what have happened to us in slavery and colonialism is there's a void of communication gap. And now those who are in the helms of ruling us are not even aware of who they are. If you say you're an African and your name is Mr. Jacob, and your religion is Buddhism, I'm just using that as an example, Then what is you that is African? To be African, you have to live the culture. You have to speak the language, you have to wear the clothes, you have to eat the food. That's what an African is. And that means you're supporting your own economy. If you're doing anything short of that, we don't know ourselves. What am I saying? It starts with self knowledge. We have to know self first, and then know our collective human history, and then know African history, and then know where do we need to go from here, and then plot and plan for that so that our youth could have something to work with. In the next, I think it's 2050, Africa is going to be about two-thirds of the, I think almost two-thirds of the global population in what is coming down the pipe. So we know we have population coming. Are we preparing the hard and soft infrastructure for them? If our population is going to increase by threefold, how many hospitals do we have? Do we increase our hospital by threefold? What about the roads? What about the Wi-Fi we're talking about? In everything we're doing, we have to now start to prepare to, as the untaker of this youth growing up, what are the things that is going to need? We need to increase all those things. We're not. And then if care is not taken, we're going to be sitting on a mass population of poor youth. And then we're going to be in big, big trouble if they don't have no job, nowhere to go, and their level of education is low. Then the Africa is going to be getting a lot of violence and robbery and things of that nature. That's where I think we should get involved at this early stage and help to control some of this mechanism where we still can control it. Take, for example, some of these youth have a cell phone. We're talking about land and we're talking about blockchain. For example, they can sit on where they are, they can use this blockchain to map the whole of the African continent, and they can go back to their own village and map what is called data mapping, and just mark who owns what land without moving an inch. This before you have to go into the rainforest with a forest man and carry a gun, a hammer, a measurement tape to know what belongs to what. This now could be done via a satellite through the blockchain platform. You could data map all lands and it could be a permanent record for the government and the system. It's very efficient, it's cost efficient, and it's time efficient.
Thank you very much, Femi. Thank you. Thank you for your input and thank you for coming to talk to us and the youth of Africa. We look forward to engaging you on the blockchain technology in your own knowledge in our institute, to create a curriculum, how to take it to the next level. Thank you so very much. What is the last word you want to encourage our young people to be doing? Thank you.
That they have the biggest potential on earth. That what has been taken away from the African continent is less than 3 or 4% of what is underneath us. That what is lost compared to what is there is that they need now to formate themselves to make sure they have a digital space in government. That's the only way they're going to be able to kick old people out of government is by having a digital voting system that represents them as the highest population, and whatever decision they make then will be the ruling class, not this corrupt system we're using. If they're able to put that blockchain into the system, then nobody could rig the election anymore. Because it will take your face ID, your nose ID, and you will try to register the second time. It will kick up, say, hey, your registration was number 1. Why are you number 2 now? And you have that going. That's what the youth could do. So also they should look into agriculture. That's the base of all culture, is agriculture. And then try to connect with other Africans, wherever they are, in whatever industry they are, and see how they can restructure their financial system globally for their own benefit and for their own use. On that note, I wish you all the best, my fellow young Africans, and best of luck to you all. Could you hear me?
Thank you so much. The elder of Africa has. Yes, we hear you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Till next time. Till next time.
Bye.
Take
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for everyone. I just want us to take a short break. We're going to take a short break and we come back just for another short session. And I explain the concept that we, the senior executive team of the Pan-African Daily, and all of us that are here have been talking for so long about the need for us to get a curriculum and the educational system to revolutionize it for our young people. And I see most of us are already in that space saying it is a shame. It is a shame for us, the elders and this generation, that we've allowed foreigners, allow foreign education, foreign cultures to educate us. Now we have seen that there's no going back in the systems when we continue to be drowned in this technology, in this, oh, this one is coming, this one is coming. And the African child is left with ignorance, doesn't even know what they are, don't know what they have, don't know what the world is talking about them, don't know how to even control their own narratives and their stories about them. They just confused. It cannot work. It cannot continue. We have to be better. We have to do something different. And that's why the Pan-African Daily TV Academy is going to be the game changer. We've been working on this theory for more than 2 years with the professors, with all of us saying this is not about entertainment here. The Pan African Daily is not about producing short videos to earn content or to earn money or to be famous or to be influencers or to be celebrities or to be, I don't know, YouTubers with million, billion followers. No, it is the platform of a movement for the Africa that we want. And if we are serious, we are conscious about what change means, what our people need, what we ourselves need. If we are conscious that we don't want to get into that craziness, that madness of the revolution of the global village that we are thinking about, then we need to wake up now and start doing something. At least we cannot control our past, but we can change the future. We can look at it and say we gave our young people, our children, our youth a better future. What are we going to look at ourselves tomorrow and talk about? How we run about grabbing technologies that are coming with the Africans not involved, when they are not even at the table, when they don't even know what these words even mean. It might sound good. It might be interesting. It might be the future. It might be the solution. The question is, how do we teach our young people about farming when they don't even know who they are, when they cannot express themselves in their language, in their culture, in their dance, in their traditions, in their spirituality, when they don't know that the same conservation or conservative tablets or whatever they take in comes from the natural herbs that they sleep and wine and dine with every day. What is that kind of a culture when you don't even know the essence of that culture to be able to create change and need for you? What is that excellence that we're talking about? If we still look at ourselves and say, oh no, Pan-African Daily TV, we cannot watch your videos because it's too long. You need to make it snappy. You need to do a TikTok. You need to score the shot. And I keep telling you, it is not about being celebrity or influencers or YouTubers or content creators. It is a revolution of a whole system for humanity. And it starts with us Africans. So Pan-African Daily TV Academy is what is going to change. It is not asking our opinion. It is a force that we must do. I take, for example, people who just want to know, how is it going to look like? It is going to exactly determine what you know as an African. The revelation of our education, our cultural education, just simply means, what is it that you as an African know? What do you know? And how can you use the knowledge of what you know to create a conducive leadership model? What is the knowledge that you know that can create a system that can produce the community you're living in a sustainability in terms of income, in terms of job, in terms of how can you share that knowledge? That is the revolution of the new African education by Africans, for Africans and humanity. We're not going to sit and discuss about some universities with some curriculums. It is you creating the content of to teach what you think is teachable. And it is all of us. We're not going to be asking for volunteers or some particular people that have done a research and that have done something. All of you Africans know something. You know you are created and given a talent and a wisdom and a knowledge to do something, a knowledge to teach something, whether it is language. You are going to start putting that knowledge of your languages into a format that can teach other African countries and neighboring countries. In this way, we can break that language barrier. We can break the illusions of the boundaries that we have 54 countries. No, we are one nation, one people, one continent, and one race. And so we have to get everything that we have, whether it is our food. We are going to teach the kind of how to is the key word, how to. So I take, for example, if we're talking about communication, how to communicate. And if I want to teach how to communicate, then I have to put a language, for instance. How do I say good morning in Swahili? How do I say good morning in Arabic? How do I say good morning in Hausa, in Yoruba, in Fulani, in Meta, in Lamsa? How to is the new curriculum of the African education. How to know me even. How to do something is the new knowledge-based education by Africans. So if you're still waiting that we're going to create a format of an education where, oh, the curriculum has to be this and somebody sit and do this. No, we're going to create that curriculum by you bringing your knowledge-based system to be able to elevate the African. We all have learned about our spirituality. We have learned about our economy, our resources, our natural materials, minerals, everything that we have learned about it. In these 3 years of the evolution, of our revolution, of our coming together, of our freedom, we have learned everything. Now it is time for us to start teaching those things. And none of you could tell me that you don't know anything that you can teach. None of you African can tell me you don't know anything. So when we say we are revolutionizing our African curriculum and our African educational system, it is knowledge base of what you as an African know and that can teach another person. So whether we want to start commercializing it, that would be our business. When we drink water and mind our African business, that would be the economy model that we want to set up. But for now, we are starting with how to. If you want to know the process, you want to be in the process, you want to be part of this movement, join us on Saturday. Saturday, we're going to do a Zoom and explain the process of the revolution of the African educational system. And this educational system is uncontrollable. It's unstoppable. And let me tell you the simple benefit to an African child. Exactly, FEMI was trying to put it in a kind of a way that, puts technology on it. But what we are saying is, what does the African on the continent know about their siblings in the diaspora? This is a whole knowledge system for you, our African siblings out there, to put that. What does it mean, an African American? What is my story? What is the culture that I've inherited? What is it that I've known? What are the foods that I eat? What does it mean work for me? What does it mean a salary for me? It's all a whole revolution of teaching each other. And that's what we came with, that theory of the Caribbean theory of one basket, one fruit. So we pick one after and drop into it. And that is leadership. So when we communicate by producing our knowledge-based system for us, who can do what? So we are only revolutionizing the African knowledge-based system of education. Number two, once we move from the communication aspect, in the process of doing what we're doing, that is what is called leadership. We're never going to sit and teach people to lead. We're just going to ask people to lead by what they have. And that is leadership in an Afrocentric content, because that's how we lead in pre-colonial history. Everything that the world is struggling to tell us, oh no, it is a new technology. We developed those technology and we had created the world with it and put those systems and became the greatest nations and race and civilization. Those systems is what we have to reteach ourselves. And everybody can be a teacher. We sing every day, we dance every day, we talk every day. That is teaching, that is communication. The drum beat of a sound that we dance every day, that is communication. The leadership is the aspect of us doing it every time. That is leading. The aspect of me not stopping to do what I'm doing. The aspect of me not giving up on what I can do is leading. So the aspect of keeping doing is leadership. Now, when we talk about team building, that is a Europeanized version. You see, I just put the three keywords we're going to focus on Saturday: communication, leadership, team building. Those are all Europeanized systems of all marketing and blah, blah, blah. But in an Afrocentric system, a team building is just how we gather a community and a village together for the common goods of each other. That's how we build. But now, how do we build? That's what we're going to be talking about. And now we understand, we've been talking about our languages. Benjamin is coming to teach us Swahili. Everybody, we talk from Creole, we talk from our Pidgin, we talk from our everything. We have to teach each other. And I will give you the technology, the African technology, to teach ourselves and to revolutionize our cultural education by Africans for Africans, to know who we are, what we have, how we can build the new Africa that we want. So I look forward to that. We'll be sharing the link to the Zoom conference before that. And that is the power. That is Black excellence. Call it brown or whatever. When we say Black, is not a color. It is a spirit. Black is not because I am brown. No, brown came from Black. Black is not because I'm pale, I'm pink, I'm this. No, pink comes from Black. So when we talk about Black excellence, has nothing to do with brown colored people or whatever. We're talking about the origin. And so that excellence should not be a problem where people begin, oh no, why are you talking about? That's petty things. We're not at that level. These are micro, mini things that we're talking about. Race, color, those are non-essential things. We're talking about the origins of the roots of where we become of what we are today. And so Black consciousness, Black excellence, Black stories, Black music is the origin of the creation, Black civilization. And then you talked about the Nile civilization. What was that? We asked about it here. It was business. It was trade. It was literature. It was poetry. It was dance. It was music. It was food. Everything. So I'm looking forward. And these youths that are so hungry, looking for exactly this direction, and that we as the elders are not able to redirect them, we have to rethink. Nobody is going to be sitting here and hosting conversations in the future, because that will not be it. You would find it everywhere, the Africans telling these stories by themselves. There's not going to be any format where we'll sit here again and gather and people watch and as if we're in the church. No, that format is getting to become an illusion. And that's the Africa, the new world that is coming, where each one would teach one according to what you know, not according to what a global system teach you who you are supposed to be and what you're supposed to know. That system is okay. It's fine. That will be a value added. But the Africa that we want, the leadership that we want, the education that we want is teaching ourselves who you are, what you have, how you can use what you have to be able to develop your community, to develop yourself, to develop the world. That is what leadership is. That is what communication is. That is what team building is. So I look forward to be your trainer on Saturday. Please make sure it is not only for youth, it is for everyone when we share the link that you're joining that training. The training is not to teach you how to communicate, it's to teach you how to communicate with what you know. The teaching is not going to teach you how to be a leader because you're already a leader. But the teaching is going to teach you how to become a leader with who you are, how to become the version of the leader that you are. The teaching is not going to teach you how to build teams. Everything you can learn it, put it on Google, on YouTube. But this one that we're going to teach is not given anywhere. It's an ancestral gift to the generation and the race and humanity. It is not taught anywhere. Doesn't have a vision anywhere. The words might look similar, but the idea and the vision behind it is bigger than you and me. So let us meet and we move Africa and ourselves forward. I look forward to Saturday. Tomorrow we're going to have Petrina Shinde. Petrina Shinde is a youth and a country representative of Namibia. And she's going to be here to explain to us what it means learning from our own perspective, the damage that it has caused to the systems that they grow in, until she had to give up going to school, even though she has the nudge to learn. But she said at every step she made didn't make any sense to her. And that's when she began to understand that another educational system for the African child, the African girl child, the youth, the elders is necessary, and it is possible, and it is now. So please welcome with me tomorrow Petrina Shinde, our young country representative for Pan-African Daily TV in Namibia. And you're going to see all of them grouping themselves for 2 years, waiting for this moment for us to take them to the next level. It is not done. It's because the youth are looking for our experiences to be able not to make a mistake. And we're busy saying we don't have time. And we're busy saying it's too late. And we're busy being self-centered about me, myself, and I. And we're busy thinking that it's late. And we're busy waiting for 2063. While our youths are looking at for us, while our youth have everything they have, they don't even need your financial support. They just wait for you to share the experience of your knowledge and your wisdom of the past with them, your experiences, to teach them, to learn from our errors. And we don't have time, and we are busy, and we are focused on other things. No, we have to wake up. Otherwise, this generation is going to be ashamed. And we are not a part of that. We have passed that level. We have to take it to the next level. It is not about us now. It is about putting a legacy for continuity. It is about just giving what you know. If you are in the age group of my age groups, you have learned a lot. In the middle age group, you have a lot to teach. Whether you call yourselves doctors in every profession, whether you've done research in any field, in anything that you can teach. That is the PAT TV Academy, teaching from what you know, your experiences, what you can give back without having to pay for. Most of you are creating platforms, datas, like even just this word blockchain. How do you explain to your mother in the village or an African child that doesn't have access to internet to read about that this is something that is coming, and we're so proudly saying, oh, it's going to control the world. It's not going to control any world without African. I can guarantee you. If the world knows what is good, and they think that these systems are good, and they don't integrate this knowledge base to African youth and the child and the growing population that is going to topple the world in its future. So it's bound to fail. It's bound to collapse. All the systems in the world that Africans have never been a part, that have never sat to design that system, will not work, particularly if Africans are growing. The youngest population, the most popular that is coming up, they would develop their own technologies. They would develop their own system of communication, because it never worked thousands of years ago. It would not work today if you don't engage them, if you don't call them at the table, if you don't involve them, if you just go and cook and come and serve without an African knowing what it is. It will not work. It has not worked. It is not working anytime soon. So we better wake up to what we know is a reality. That is truth. That is unity. That is economic empowerment. That is excellence in teaching one another. What do you know? That is knowledge. That is education. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we're happy it's a time. And I want to thank Cheryl. I want to thank Sinovia. I want to thank Nadada. I want to thank Kalena. I want to thank all the women on the senior executive board of Pan-African Daily. Without you, the system would not exist. Because a few group of women sat, and every day they're only thinking, how can we push our youth? What can we give to our youth? How can we do it? Day and night, suggestions, every examples, they brought it to the table. And now we're able to take it to the next level. I thank you so very much for all your support and your contribution. So we see ourselves. It is not a joke. It is not about entertainment. It's not about celebrity. It's not about influencers. It's not about followers. It's not about carrying millions of subscribers. It is about a revolution, giving the African child a legacy, something that they can be proud of when we are no longer here, that they know who they are. Petrina, an example for tomorrow, changed her names. She said when she listened and followed Pan-African Daily and the lectures, and so when she's been called Petrina, she said, what is Petrina? And she deliberately changed her names. Just 2 years, we have taken our African youths to another level, to revolutionize, to think before they do, to look before they leap, just by sitting here. So we are not a joke. We are not creating content. We are revolutionizing and bringing our contribution to world development. And you need to be proud of it. Don't be ashamed of it. So it doesn't matter whether our videos are 2, 3, 5. It is not a shot. It is not a TikTok. It's not about entertainment. It's not about getting followers and viewers. It is about an intention to make a better step for our people and the universe. So I thank you so very much. So tomorrow, join us. Yes, we need volunteers. We need organizers. We need this. It's coming. It's already here. Nobody's going to be a part of it. If you're here, you've subscribed, we're almost getting to 90,000, to 100,000. All of you is because you had the need to change something. So those are all our volunteers. Those are all our supporters. Those are all our donors. Those are all our members. We're not going to beg for any grants for anybody. We're going to create it with the little tools and the means that we have. We're not going to be putting our money in infrastructures that doesn't bring us anything. And we will do the first sample of how we are supposed to celebrate our cultures and our festival in Tübingen, Germany this year, come June. All those crazy infrastructures where we put money to in the name of celebrating African cultures has got to stop. And we will do it the African way, the way our ancestors celebrated festivals in the village. They didn't have to have all those mammoth infrastructures where you only work and put your energies into things that do not develop an African child. It has got to stop. We're going to do it, and it's going to be an innovation, and it's going to be a revolution. Under the topic, one family, our culture, we are proud of who we are. Okay? So thank you very much. I look forward. And don't forget to subscribe, join the movement. Don't forget to be a volunteer, a teacher, anything. But you just join this seminar on Saturday. You know what you can do. You know how you can fit in. You know how you can play your part. And so it's not going to be like, oh, is the Dr. Susan Tatah Academy, or is the NS Parker, or is the Cheryl, or is it? It's a collective movement of one people, one vision for the Africa we want. All of us. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know. Thank you also for your comment. Thank you for your feedback. We're going to see us tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. with Petrina, and we're going to take it forward onto Saturday and even before. Thank you so very much. Good night. Good morning to all of you. And thank you for connecting. Okay. Do not worry. Like I said, intros, just tripping, whatever it is. If you listen, you listen. If you hear, you hear. If you don't hear, then we call it a date tomorrow. Bye-bye.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want.